Assalamu alaikum, my respected teachers and my dear colleagues. I am Dr. Tariq Mohammed, an ENT specialist working in Bangladesh Medical College and Hospital. And I welcome everyone on this academic session that is arranged by BD Physician. And the program is sponsored by Healthcare Pharmaceuticals. Today, our topic of discussion is allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, the most common topic for both the students, postgraduate and undergraduate students, and as well for the examination post-graduation. And the fungal sinusitis can broadly be categorized as invasive, non-invasive, though the allergic fungal sinusitis is the non-invasive form. But in this COVID era, the invasive form, the patients are suffering by the invasive form of fungal sinusitis. Anyway, it will be discussed broadly by our speaker, who is Professor Dr. M.D. Ashraful Islam. And today our chairperson is Professor Dr. Prangopal Dutta sir. Now I'm going for brief introduction of our speaker. Professor M.D. Ashraful Islam is the professor and head of the Department of Otolaryngology, Head Neck Surgery, Bangladesh Medical College and Hospital. He is on this field for last 35 years, and he presented this topic on allergic fungal sinusitis on multiple national and international conferences, and it was the best presentation among all presentation of AIOCON India on 2017. Throughout his career, he has 55 articles on different topics, and he published already 3 books, and one of these is Imaging in Otolaryngology and Head Neck Surgery. And he's on this field for working on this field for long times. Our chairperson is Professor Dr. Prangopal Dutta sir, who is a brand himself on the field of otolaryngology. He's a freedom fighter, he's a physician, surgeon, dedicated person for the humanity. He was the most successful former vice chancellor of BSMMU. Recently, he is working as a vice chairman of Suchana Foundation that is working on autism and neurodevelopment disorders. Now, I am requesting our chairperson to invite, to give some speech and to invite our speaker to discuss on this topic of allergic fungal sinusitis. Sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really happy to present Professor Major Retired Ashraful Islam for presenting a topic on allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, which was taken as a subject for the undergraduate as well as postgraduate. Here I will include even the general physicians also. This is a subject for general physicians also. And this topic is not a rare problem in Bangladesh, although when authorities describe allergic fungal rhinosinusitis most common in immunocompromised patient, but we see a lot of allergic fungal rhinosinusitis who does never have immunosuppressant drug or who was never under immunocompromise, so from any disease. Actually, this fungal sinusitis, like that of any other fungal lesion of the body, that is skin, scalp, genitalia, etc., etc., and they take a long time for treatment. And unfortunately, irony of fate is that skin fungal lesions and genitalia fungal lesions and other fungal lesions, they usually get cured after a long time of treatment, but they relapses. So here, the tragedy of the physicians or the surgeons in otolaryngology, that is, after doing such an invasive surgery, when the disease relapses. So once you are a surgeon, you will have to face the success, you will have to get the credit of the success, as well as you will have to face the failure also. So once failure does never mean you are failed for the whole time, but I am sure that this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, the surgical treatment of which should be started under the guidance of an expert endoscopic sinus surgeon. Otherwise, resident, they may commit some sorts of mistake. I believe, and I firmly believe, and there is no reason to disbelieve, that any surgery, you will have to face complication and you will have to prepare yourself for the complication. And in case of sinus surgery, because other than the fungus, there are a lot of stimulating factors like that of the bacteria, viruses, and allergy. We can't eliminate them until and unless the patient get 100% aware about himself and about his disease and about the rules and regulations, how to keep it disease-free. So with this few words, we are now prepared to listen to one of my most favorite ENT surgeon, Major Retired Mohammad Ashraful Islam, and I will request that he should go for the presentation, and it should be made so easy so that the general practitioner who are the member of this BD physicians group, they can also understand, or as a general physician, they can have the diagnosis to refer the patient to the graded specialist. And here, those who are participating in this platform, in this webinar, all belongs to my family, because all are doctor. I am also a doctor. So we all are family members, and we should pay respect to each other. With this, humbly request Professor Major Retired Ashraful Islam to go for the presentation.
Thank you, sir, for your nice words. I also belong to your family and your membership and under your umbrella. I like you very much, sir. And many of our workshops you attended and gave so much nice words for our remembrance, and also encouraged our workshop. Could you remember, sir, all the time, even you attended one dinner in the Star Hotel, very, very humbly, not a very good one, but you attended and encouraged. So I'm very happy to have you, the legend like you, in this webinar, and in my presentation, you are the chairperson. Really, sir, I am very grateful and I'm honored to have you. Thank you very much, sir. With this few words, I am going to present this one. And this presentation, exactly, sir, I am with your same opinion. This is divided into two parts. Before going to the allergic fungal sinusitis, I will briefly enumerate some of the fungal diseases and now the moribund condition which is going on in this Asian area, particularly in India, the black and white fungus. And I will start with this fungus disease, and then I'll go to the allergic fungal sinusitis specifically. Now, just the basic thing, what is a fungus? Just to recollect the thing, a fungus is a living opportunistic organism. It goes through a complicated life cycle and is able to spread in the environment by producing large numbers of spores that are easily dispersed by wind and other elements. Some fungal spores mature in the environment to get the hyphae, which can produce more spores, and that my conditions can mature into yeast forms because it remains in the environment, that is the mud, clay, and other things. Now, this is the classification of mycosis. If we go for the classification, there are various ways of classifying in the mycobacterial textbook. So to give a short description to the our generations, our doctors, general physicians, and general ENT, just clinically based on the site of infection, route of acquisition of the pathogens, and type of virulence exhibited by the fungus. So there are the three sources of this fungal classification we can get into it. Now, if I go for the site of the infection, Sir has rightly pointed out that there may be subcutaneous, superficial, and so on. So this site, maybe it's superficial, that is inguinal region, nail, and others. That is the cutaneous. We are getting it as subcutaneous. That is the cutaneous in the oral automycosis, subcutaneous, systemic infections, depending on the type and degree of tissue involvement and the host response to the pathogen. Because it is very important to the host response. Sir has pointed out some of the person are not immunocompromised, but they still have the fungus disease. So this is the host response to the pathogen. How the host behave with the fungus, that depends on the acquisition of the disease. Now, how the this fungus goes into human being and affect it. This infective fungi may be either exogenous or endogenous. The exogenous route are the airborne, cutaneous, or percutaneous. And the endogenous infection involves the colonization of a good number of the normal flora or reactivation of the previous microorganisms. So there are so many endogenous, and when they get the opportunity, that is, they remain as the opportunist organisms, and when they get the environment, they will grow and affect the person. And the other one, the type of virulence exhibited by the fungus. This is the virulence here. These primary pathogens, as you have mentioned, that the two types. One is the primary and the opportunist. The opportunist is the more dangerous than the primary pathogens. This primary pathogen can establish infection in normal hosts, and which can be established as well. You can see, but opportunistic, they remain in the body. When they get the environment, they come into fluid and affect the disease. And that is the compromised host defense mechanisms that come into play. Now, as we are concerned about the black or white fungus or the aspergillosis, that is the invasive one, and also the non-invasive, that comes into the deep mycosis, that is the primary versus opportunistic mycosis. So how they play? You see, the primary systemic fungal pathogens include oxide iodides, emitis, histoplasma capsulatum, blastomyces dermatitis, and pyroxenitis, bacillitis. So there are so many other fungal elements. We have just listed a few, but there are lots of fungus in between. And the opportunistic one, this is the Cryptococcus neoformis, Candida, Aspergillus, Penicillium, Zygomycetes, Trichosporon, and Fusarium. This Aspergillus as Candida is much more common in our ENT people as well as the Zygomycetes. This Zygomycetes comes into the mucormycosis group. This is the zygomycosis, that is the mucormycosis, which is prevalent in India now, that is termed as the black fungus, and in Bihar it is also as the white fungus. This zygomycosis is due to Rhizopas and Rhizomucor, and this mucor species or other members of the class of Zygomycetes cause invasive sinopulmonary infections. That is, it comes in the sinus, paranasal sinuses and nasal cavity. They remain as opportunistic organism, there is a fungus, and when it comes into play and get the environment, they become furious. And also the Aspergillus spp species and the Zygomycetes have a strong propensity for invading blood vessels, because once the sinus mucosa, that is the sinusites and the capillaries and all the opportunistic fungus, when they come into play and get the environment, they make the endotheliitis. And once the endotheliitis develop, they block the blood vessel and spread like anything. That is the necrosis of the part. And this necrosis is the black one. And this black one can go to the orbital, that is the orbital one, or maybe cerebral one, or maybe lung. So that is the major effect and disastrous effect of this mucormycosis. And this life-threatening mucormycosis leads to rhinocerebral syndrome, and this occurs in certain risk factors. These risk factors are listed here, but other risk factors are also there. That is the diabetics or ketoacidosis, and also certain immunosuppressed drugs, including the very common one in our country and all over the world, and particularly the COVID syndrome, is the corticosteroids. And the cancer chemotherapy, immunocompromised patients, that is HIV or any other drugs, we can compromise the immunity of the patient. Now, what is the emerging threat to humans? Having done all these things, the fungi infect billions of people worldwide, killing in excess of 1.5 billion per year, but it was rare in humans until 1950. This is the World Health Organization statistics. And why it is so much coming off? Because the inadvertent use of antibiotics, inadvertent giving way to the intensive care units, use of immunosuppressive drugs, corticosteroids, cancer chemotherapies, and the catheters. These catheters, once it is used, the microbes can get into it and invade the other organs where the catheter is being installed, and the organ is become affected. And fungal infections are determined by the fungi spores and the immune status of the person infected. Fungal allergy common with millions affected, worsening asthma and cystic fibrosis, or leading to chronic nasal and sinus symptoms. This come into the allergic fungal sinusitis later on. Invasive fungal infections are progressive and lethal if not diagnosed and specifically treated, which are the black fungus and the mucormycosis. That is the group in the zygomycetes. Now, how the fungal disease occurs? The pathogenesis, that is the pathogenesis, involves an interplay between fungal virulence factors and the host immune responses. Most fungal pathogens are opportunists that preferentially invade hosts with immune defects, but the fact that relative pathogenicity varies between fungal species and even between different strains within a species as well is evidence that the fungi have evolved multiple different molecular virulence factors. So virulency occurs when it goes into the system. So this is the picture of the black fungus and the white fungus. This black fungus, all over the, about 9,000 patients affected in India, and the white fungus only in the Bihar state, they have only got 9 so far. So the question remains on the mucormycosis, black or white fungus, whatever may be, how does black fungus enter the body? So to have already answered, who is at high risk? How serious is black fungus? This black fungus, that is the mucormycosis, can get to the system and then it affect the nose and paranasal sinuses, the necrosis, orbital syndrome, and the cerebral. That is the rhinocerebral as a whole, and also it affects the lungs as well. Can black fungus spread from one person to another? So it is not the contagious disease. So never to be afraid of this. Once it is affected, we can treat it in a very nice way without any fear. What you should do if you experience symptoms? Once the symptoms develop, the immediate management is to be instituted. So there should not be a fractionate delay in treating such type of patients. So this is all about our general fungal. Sir, am I audible, sir? Hello?
শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
Sir, is it clear or sir very fast? Is it okay, sir?
Yes, Ashraf, okay.
Sir, this is the now I am coming to our topic, that is the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. This allergic fungal rhinosinusitis is a common type of fungal infection in the sinuses. It's very common. The infective fungi cause an allergic reaction which results in thick fungal debris with sticky mucus known as allergic mucin. I'll show in the video later on, resulting blockage of the infected sinus. So once it is in the paranasal sinuses, it mostly blocked the paranasal sinus ostium, then it blocked into the sinuses and collect and then grow and goes into expansion of the sinus wall. So it is usually associated with significant recurrence and morbidity. Sir, you have already mentioned in the recurrence. I will go into the details of this recurrence, and this necessitating frequent endoscopic aggressive medical management. So the treatment remains on the endoscopic sinus surgery and also on the aggressive medical management. Recent studies all over in the world that approximately 300 fungal species are known to cause mycotic disease in humans. More than 50 of these species are documented as agents of allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. We have discussed about the fungal disease, we have discussed about the fungus strain and the name of the fungus, but this is the tip of the iceberg. Around 300 fungal species are already documented, but only 50 they can cause the allergic fungal sinusitis. Most such infections are caused by spore, that is a species Aspergillus, Fusarium, Rhizophus alternaria, bipolaris, and Pseudoalacearia and Carvoluria. Now, this allergic fungal sinusitis has a clear, we have already mentioned this is a mucus disease, and also it causes the blockage of the mucus, and then it goes to the formation of the allergic mucin and also the polyp formation. So that's why once it is the chronic rhinosinusitis, then with the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, and what are the variants and subtypes of this allergic fungal sinusitis and the chronic rhinosinusitis? They go side by side, but we have to understand what are the types and subtypes. So this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, which they behave with the hyphae and the mucin. That is the hallmark of its diagnosis, with the hyphae and mucin. Now, eosinophilic mucinous rhinosinusitis. Here also behave like the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, but here you will not get any fungi or there is no allergic manifestation. So the eosinophilic fungal rhinosinusitis, here is the eosinophil is present, eosinophilia present, here is the fungi and type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. That is the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, which one, that is the presence of IgE that is present in the eosinophilic fungal rhinosinusitis. One is the noted is the fungal ball. What is that fungal ball? Here is also the matted hyphae, that is the fungus is present to the hyphae, but there is no mucin at all. That is the fungal ball formation. That is not allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. They form the fungal ball in the sinuses with no mucin at all. And chronic rhinosinusitis with nasal polyp. This is common in many of the centers. You all experienced with this chronic rhinosinusitis with nasal polyp, where you will not get any fungi. So these are the subtype of this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis and the chronic rhinosinusitis in just a picture on this. We have studied 100 in our Bangladeshi perspective, and this Aspergillus, we have 87%, that is the Aspergillus flavus, Aspergillus fumigatus. And Dematiaceous fungi, Dematiaceous, that is the pigment formation, they give the color of the fungus, and that is the Bipolaris, Carvularia, Alternaria, and Exarohelium. So these are the fungus most prevalent in our country. Now, one is the cascade of allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, how it is formed. This allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, how it is formed. You see, this is the atopic host. As you know, this is the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. It is associated with the allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. So this is the atopic. Already the hypersensitized, that is the atopy is there, and that is the host is affected. And once it is the fungi comes into contact with the host, they form the innate, that is the initiate the antigenic stimulus. This antigenic stimulus, you see, form the type 1 IgE mediated and type 3 immune complex mediated hypersensitivity reaction. So this IgE mediated and immune complex mediated hypersensitivity reaction causes inflammatory response. This inflammatory response, as you know, that is the type, mostly in the research it has been found the type 2 inflammatory response is being initiated with this type 1 and type 3 immune complex hypersensitivity reaction. And this inflammatory response gives to the tissue edema. And this tissue edema gives obstruction of the sinus ostium. So once the ostium is obstructed, this ostium obstruction gives the formation of the stasis within the sinus. This obstruction of sinus ostium, it depends on many anatomical factors, which I'll show in later on. Anatomical factors like nasal obstruction or paradoxical middle turbinate, hypertrophied inferior turbinate, or the other factors, cystic fibrosis. There are the anatomical factors, so many, and gives rise to the stasis within the sinus. This is stasis, and this is stasis. So the fungus can grow on the static mucosa and mucin, and then it proliferates so much so and giving the increasing antigenic activity. Once the antigenic activity goes, the host become allergic, and once the host become allergic, the secretion comes out, and this secretion is sticky material that is known as the allergic mucin. And this allergic mucin, with the production, with the remaining of the sinus, it gives to the, you see, it is the fungus with the allergic mucin gives to the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, which we have shown in the chart. Now, the incidence, 5 to 10% of all CRS cases, they are affecting with the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. And this is common amongst adolescents and young adults, and male-female ratio is 2:1, and usually it is unilateral. But in my study, we have found lots of bilateral rhinosinusitis. There is a fungal rhinosinusitis. Host factors, that is the atopy immunocompetent host, allergic rhinitis, and asthma. These are the patients who are susceptible to allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. So there are some study on it because this is a recurrent disease. And as you already our chairpersons mentioned it, recurrence is the phenomena. That does not mean that this is the failure of a surgeon or the failure of the physician. So the failure comes with the inborn character of the fungal disease and the allergic manifestation. There are so many studies comes on to being, and here is the molecular immune study, and IgE, that is the type 1 hypersensitivity, that is the type 3 hypersensitivity, and interleukin 4, that is secreted by eosinophilic cationic protein, and that comes into the interleukin 4, and now it is being stimulated that so many interleukin 13, interleukin 16, and also other CD4 that comes into the interplay of the molecular immune study of this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. In the sinus mucosa, this immune dendritic cells, there are so many dendritic cells in the sinus mucosa, they produce certain cationic protein and also the CD4 and interleukin that comes into play into the formation of the type 2 inflammation. And this type 2 inflammation, which goes into the immune complex diseases, and that is also the immune barrier hypothesis. This immune barrier hypothesis that is coming to relative with the atopic host, and this atopic host cannot sustain and fight with the fungus, and ultimately they produce the fungal disease and mucin and formation of the sinusitis. So there are certain genetic study as well. This is the HLA studies have shown higher association of AFRS with DQ, B1 and 301. These are all under study and not yet established in the effect of allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. These are the prevalence that the higher prevalence in dry, warm, and hot regions with high humidity, like Bangladesh, India, Sudan. There are so many African countries. There's a high, because of the high humidity, fungi grow better. That is in the bones and others. That is the formation of the yeast. And in USA, most common with Mississippi Basin, Southeast and Southwest. And in Bangladesh, humidity like this condition, the fungi can grow and allergy manifestations come to play into most common phenomena. In our country, you see the humidity. Because of the humid condition, the children can play in certain dishes, and that is the dirty one. They can infest with the fungus and then come into with the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. So our humidity, you see, almost it crosses 80%. So just yesterday, the humidity was 43, that is the 82%, and our temperature was 41. So this is the humid condition in our country, and this is the area that is the month May, June, July, August, September, and the fungal can grow in this type. So this is the you see our environmental factors, that is the immunocompetent. It comes in the poor socio-economic condition, and also the smoking is one of the factors for this fungal disease, and overcrowding. You see the overcrowding. These are the factors, inciting factors of the fungal disease. So see the fungus in the microscopic view. This is the microscopic view, and certain anatomical factors. You see the anatomical factors, septal deviation. Here is the, you see the septal deviation here. So this is the septal deviation, you see. Excuse me. It blocks the, you see, this is the middle terminate and comes into the middle terminate with the septal deviation in the concha bullosa. Here is the concha bullosa and closing the sinus ostium. So these are the bilateral, you see, the sinus disease, and this only caused by the septal deviation. Concha bullosa, there is the hypertrophied inferior terminate. Now, with this scenario, is see the condition where this is also the septal deviation and the concha bullosa and the closure of the sinus ostium. Here you also see, you see the bulla. This is the bulla and the concha bullosa and the pneumatized uncinate process. This pneumatized uncinate process, here the Heller cells, and this closes the sinus ostium. Here, how we can get into diagnose this case. So this is the fungal disease. You see the condition of the fungus here. This is also the yellowish. So color is here. So this one is the fungus ball, and also the see the polypodal appearance and fungus on both the nasal cavity and also the sinus. So you see the polypodal appearance of the mucosa and also the fungus and the color of the mucosa. This is the polyp, and underneath, so with this presentation, with these few words, the patient may present with the nasal obstruction, as you have seen the fungus with the nasal polyp and the hypertrophied mucosal turbinate and nasal septal deviation. And this patient may present with the nasal air obstruction, allergic rhinitis, nasal congestion, purulent rhinorrhea, postnasal drainage, headache. That is the normal presentation with the patient symptoms. And this pain, patient may come with the pain because of the secondary bacterial infection, that is from the bacterial rhinosinusitis. Patient may present with the acute visual loss, gross facial dysmorphia, and the gross nasal obstructions. And now this allergic mucin, we have already mentioned the fungus and the allergic mucin. The fungus we have seen, now see the allergic mucin. How the allergic mucin is found in the fungal rhinosinusitis. This is the sticky material. You see the stickiness, how it comes out from the sinus through the sinus ostium. See, this one is the ulcerated process, and here the bulla, and it is coming from the bulla, that is the ethmoidal sinuses. It is coming from the ethmoidal sinuses. So we have seen from the maxillary sinus. Now we can see clearly through the ethmoidal sinuses the allergic mucin and mucinous-like substances coming out. Now you see the presentation with the polyphenol. We see the allergic, there's the mucinous. Now you see how if you remove the polyp, then you will get the fungal ball. This is the microdebrider. See the ostium. This is a bilateral. You see, this is going through the frontal sinus and clearance of all these things. Now, this mucopurulent CG or clay-like material, that is the fungal ball we have seen. And you see how it looks like. This is another type of fungal ball. This is the polyp. Just patient presented with the polyp, and after removal of the polyp, you will see the fungus. See the clay-like substance. This is the fungus in the maxillary antrum. Just this is a friable one, friable clay-like material. Consistency is very thin, and this is also, once it is on the table, it looks like the black or brown peanut butter mixed with sand and glue. If you cut section, it gives like this one. So how do we diagnose? 25 years ago, this Bent and Kuhn, they fixed up the criteria with certain things, and still now, the Bent and Kuhn criteria is followed, and now we can diagnose with this Bent and Kuhn criteria. They have fixed up the major and minor criteria. You see the type 1 hypersensitivity, major criteria is type 1 hypersensitivity, nasal polyposis, we have seen allergic mucin, characteristic CT scan signs, and positive fungal stain. The minor criteria here is the asthma, unilateral predominance, serum eosinophilia, and certain bone erosion, that is the radiographic bone erosion, fungal culture, sarcoidal crystals. These are the minor criteria. So once the 3+1 or 2+3, if they are fixed up with this Bent and Kuhn criteria, you can go for the diagnosis of this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. This is the best way of getting diagnosis of the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. The diagnostic criteria, the fixed one is the presence of allergic mucin, which already we have seen. That is the laminated accumulation of intact and degenerated eosinophils, sarcoidal crystals, cellular debris, and sparse hyphae, rarely viscous without fungal stains. We have already seen the allergic mucin. This allergic mucin contains certain things, so it fulfills the certain minor criteria of the Bent and Kuhn. Demonstration of fungal hyphae in the allergic mucin, radiologically confirmed sinusitis, no evidence of fungal invasion of sow mucosa, blood vessels, or bone. So these are the characteristics of the allergic fungal sinusitis. Now, what investigation we can carry it out? We can go for the allergic mucin, which will get hyphae and total IgE, that is the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. There is a RAST ELISA test, major basic protein, EDN, that is eosinophilic, the electric nutrient, C-reactive protein, vitamin D3, and MRI. So these are the criteria for the investigation of this allergic fungal sinusitis. Just our microscopical view from the our microscope in Bangladesh Medical College. These are the fungal. You see the hyphae. Here is the, so these are the hyphae comes, and this is the diagnosis of this fungal disease. So what is the treatment to be instituted? Is a certain medicinal treatment and surgical treatment. Medicine, oral itraconazole, fluconazole nasal spray, oral itraconazole plus fluconazole nasal spray, fluconazole nasal irrigation. These are the antifungal drugs to be selected for this antifungal fungal sinusitis, but this is very frustrating to treat with this. CT scan, you see, this is the CT scan of this fungal disease, and here the hypodense and the hyperintense. Here you see certain, the whole of the pharyngeal sinuses are affected, and these are the blockages here, and you see the certain hyperintense and the surrounding the hypointense. So these are the condition if you see, that dictates the fungal sinusitis. You see, this one is the sagittal scan. Whole of this sinus, that is the sphenoid, frontal, and this is the ethmoidal, that is the anterior ethmoidal. This one is the posterior ethmoidal, and also the maxillary sinus. These all the sinuses are affected, which can be depicted on this sagittal, coronal, and axial view. Now, what can be the complication? As I've already mentioned, if it crosses the barrier, then it can cause the orbital cellulitis at the orbital manifestation. Before going to the orbital manifestation, you see the condition of this patient of this CT scan, where it has gone and just crossed the limit and affect the orbital one. So this is the orbital cellulitis and complication. Now, the mainstay of the treatment is the surgical intervention. This surgical intervention, it causes the complete extirpation of all allergic mucin and fungal debris, permanent drainage, create the natural ventilation, obtain the mucociliary clearance, and post-operative access to the previously diseased area. So post-operative access to the previous disease areas, they can entail the irrigation. This irrigation and medicine can go to the sinuses, and also they can come back with the mucociliary clearance activity and establish the ventilation. And if there is any accumulation, they can come out with the drainage system. So that has to be the main idea of this. Now, what is the medical treatment? That is, we have already seen the antifungal. That is a substitute of the surgical treatment, and that is the corticosteroid, antifungal, antibiotics, antihistamines, immunotherapy, and also the biological therapy, which come into being to the latest one. And subsequently, there is a supportive treatment is the vitamin D diet. There is a diet for very nutritious diet is to be instituted. Humidifier. Well, this is the humidification. To combat the humidification, we have to use the humidifier so that it can combat the humidification. Now, one is the biological therapy. This is under research. This is a biological. There is a type 2 inflammation. It is being established now, and so mirolizumab anti-IL-5 antibody. Initially, it is thought interleukin-4 and CD4 and CD8. Now it is thought that type 2 inflammation goes to the interleukin-5. And so this is the going for the interleukin-5 antibody formation, and that is the treatment of this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, but not yet established, is in the research phase. Prognosis, you see the quality of life was measured by using the 22 item. That is a sinonasal outcomes, so SNOT 22. SNOT 22, that is the, if you go for the 0, 0 means no problem. Is a 1, O1, O1 means mild problem. O2 means a mild, a better than, just worse than the mild one. Type, that is the O3. O3 means it goes the moderate one. O4 is the severe one, and O5 is the profound one. There 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they come into the patient interrogation and comes into the 22, and that is the quality of life is measured. And that is preventing the immediate recurrence, delayed recurrence, and the cure. Now, this intercurrent bacterial infection, that is the normal sinus stage to stage 2, that is the polypoidal mucosal edema with purulent discharge, there is no allergic symptoms. This is IgA, C-reactive protein. These are all the, to be measured after the treatment plan. If you go for the treatment, the patient may come with the immediate recurrence, delayed recurrence, or patient may come with the cure, that is no problem. And patient may present with the intercurrent bacterial infection like this. So why the recurrence? This is the much concern for the treating physician or the surgeon. That may be reinfected with bacteria, residual fungal elements released, because this is not the clear of all the cells of the paranasal sinus mucosa and the ECP, eosinophil peroxidase, EDN, MVP, which I have already discussed. And these are leading to edema, polyp formation, and allergic fusions, and ultimately goes again to the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis. This is one is the vicious cycle and goes into this and formation of this allergic fungal rhinosinusitis with the recurrent phenomena. And this prevention of recurrence, how we can, this is a close follow-up, that is the cleaning of the nasal cavity, regular endoscopy, and vitamin D Montelukast therapy. It is thought that this can give you the clear picture of this one. We can suction it and it can give you to the clear picture of this. Practically, what is the reality? In our country, recurrence is much more common. We are getting too much recurrence disease. So in my opinion, this is the neglected patient. Many patient comes too late. Referral is not very common in our country. This needs a training. As our salesperson said, this needs a training, extensive training of the cadaver dissection. This cadaver dissection give you the exact reality to go to the each and every nooks and crannies of the sinuses, and then you can clear it out. And also it needs the facilities. So you have to go for the endoscopes, image guidance, also the microdebrider. Without microdebrider, the whole sinuses cannot be approached and get the clearance. Now, there are so many controversies as well. Now, in short, the conclusion, diagnosis of AFRS is still under research. Bent and Fluke criteria are most widely accepted till today. AFRS is predominantly driven by type 2 inflammatory response. Treatment is largely surgical, topical, oral steroid has a strong role. AFRS is often a recurrent and chronic disease. So, thank you very much for the patience hearing. Thank you very much, Chairperson, sir. Thank you very much. This is the end of my lecture, sir.
Thank you, sir. স্যার প্রাণ কুমার স্যার আপনি একটু আনমিউট করতে হবে স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, আনমিউট করেছি। থ্যাংক ইউ প্রফেসর আশরাফ। অ্যাকচুয়ালি কোনটা অফ করব গো
স্যার? স্লাইড শেয়ারটা একটু অফ করে নিলে ভালো হবে স্যার, তাহলে ফুল স্ক্রিন দেখা যাবে।
স্যার লাইভ শেয়ারটা একটু অফ করে দেন স্যার। জি স্যার, এখন দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার।
আচ্ছা, সো তারেক বলবেন, আমি বলবো?
স্যার ওই কিছু কোশ্চেন আনসার সেশন ছিল স্যার, আপনি যদি বলেন
আচ্ছা, কিন্তু আমি সেটাই অপরচুনিটি দিচ্ছি আমি এক্ষুনি। তো thanks to Professor Ashraf. To start with, I already mentioned that this is a subject for the general practitioner, newly passed graduates, as well as resident and ENT specialist. There was a chat from some of our family members. He said, I have got no knowledge about this disease, so I can't ask any question. So actually, I must say, he is very much courageous enough to admit that he has got no knowledge. And I must say, possibly 80% of the recently graduates, they don't have that much of idea on allergic and fungal rhinosinusitis. So there are a lot of questions, about 18 questions, and there was 14 chats. So may I request Tarek to open the question bank so that our presenter can answer them.
Sir, before going to the answer, you must help me, sir.
Yeah, please.
All the questions may not be answered by me. You will help me in answering the questions, sir.
No, yes, there is some question. How does vitamin D helps in fungal sinusitis? There was a question. Actually, vitamin D does not directly help in the treatment of fungal sinusitis. That will boost up the immunity. for
Nice,
boosting
sir.
up the immunity will give the
Exactly,
vitamin D.
exactly.
There was another question about why corticosteroid should be given in a conservative treatment. There are lots of reasons. The first reason is that to start with a conservative treatment, say for example, there is allergic rhinosinusitis with some sorts of fungal invasion, early invasion. In that case, with conservative treatment with low dose steroid, we can start it, that the patient is cured. I can cite an example. I had when I was a resident in Soviet Union, there was a patient with bilateral nasal polyposis, and she was a lady. She was going to be prepared for the operation, but anesthetist did not give us the consent that she should go for the operation. At the moment, they will not induce anesthesia. He prescribed some steroid. After 4 weeks, all the polyps disappeared. All the polyps disappeared, but definitely they may again recur. And so why should we use corticosteroid? There is another aim is there. The presenter already mentioned the humid weather is the most susceptible weather. And in Bangladesh, the coastal area, people from the coastal area, they also suffer more in fungal diseases. And the steroid postoperative period, to some extent in low dose, it will make the nasal mucosa a bit dry. So it will not allow the fungus to reinfect or reinvest. So there are a lot of reasons, but steroid in minimum dose does never causes immunosuppression. Let me cite the example from my family. My wife is a patient of kidney transplant for last 2.5 years. She is having three immunosuppressants. And yeah, and Professor T.A. Chaudhary was also there. So Professor T.A. Chaudhary lot of people with steroid, they don't develop immunosuppression. And short time, low dose steroid is not always acting as an immunosuppressant agent. Next, please, Ashraf, you start. There are 26 questions. 2 I have already answered.
Sir, can I add with the steroid? Steroid has 2 options, pre-operative and post-operative.
Yes.
Pre-operatively, if you go for the steroid, sir has already mentioned that is the disappearance of the polyps. But fungus, steroid has no action on the fungus.
No.
Fungus remains in the sinuses. But what is the advantage? Before going to the CT scan, if you go for a short course of steroids to the antibiotics, they will reduce the inflammation of the sinuses, that is the sinus mucosa, and give you the clear picture of the CT scan, number 1. Number 2, as such it reduces the inflammation, it reduces the vascularity as well. So once it reduces the vascularity, it gives the handy work in the surgical procedure. So there will be minimum or no bleeding during the surgical procedure. So these are the 2 terms, they are the pre-operative, intraoperative one, and post-operative you maintain this so that it goes to the hypersensitivity, because it is a type 1 and type 3, and as well as the type 2 inflammation, it reduces the inflammatory load and immune complex diseases phenomena, and gives the clearance of the mucosa, establish the mucociliary clearance, that is the activity, and drainage procedure. So these are the advantages of the steroid at the short course, even 20 days, it does not give any action in the low dose steroid.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks both for your elaborate presentation and discussion on this topic. We have multiple questions. Before going to the question answer session, I want to mention that there is a quiz session after this question answer session, and with this quiz session, we'll be selecting some of the answers that is given by the participants, and there is
Some of the questions.
some of the questions, yes, and by this there will be a gift on behalf of Professor M.D. Ashraful Islam sir for at least 5 answers or 5 participants that will give perfect answer. So now the question answer session. The first question, is there any role of intranasal povidone iodine to prevent COVID-19? The role of intranasal povidone iodine to prevent COVID-19, though it is not the matter of our discussion topic, but sir, please.
Actually, povidone iodine is already Mustafa Kamal Arifin, they are doing on the COVID-19. There is the virus load, reduce the virus load in the nasal, and there is the postnasal area and the oropharynx. So in the fungal disease, what is the povidone iodine, that I do not know. And yes, I think it is not yet established in the allergic fungal sinusitis. So povidone iodine is already working. They are working on the virus disease. That is
Yes.
only for the COVID-19.
Yes, sir. And our question by Dr. Mahmoudul Hassan Amin. His question is, what is the feature of rhinosinusitis in blood picture? And what is the radiological investigation of choice?
Practically, blood picture does not give any value or any diagnostic point in the diagnosis of allergic fungal sinusitis. Yes, CT scan. Radiology means the CT scan, and this CT scan I have already given you the tips to prepare the patient for the CT scan, and then go for the CT scan. And the CT scan is to be advised. How the CT scan is advised? The CT scan is advised as such: is the paranasal sinus, coronal, axial and sagittal view with 5 millimeter, the 0.5 millimeter to 1 or 3 millimeter cut, with or without contrast, bony or soft tissue imaging. These are the advice to be given to the radiologist so that they can go for the CT scan in this way. Accordingly, if you get the CT scan, you will see if there is a fungus that is a hyper intense in the center, always, which I have shown in the CT scan of this slide. And the periphery is hypointense. This is the CT scan with a non-contrast one with a bony window. If you go for the soft tissue window, you will more intense, the hyper intense in the center or the other than the periphery. If you go for the MRI, which is usually not done in the allergic fungal sinusitis without any complication. If there is complication, that is orbital cellulitis or the cerebral one, definitely go for the MRI. And which you will get the MRI. This MRI will give T1 and T2. T2 is always giving you the hyperintense. But once, if I say the one investigation, that one investigation is the CT scan of the paranasal sinus.
So this is the radiological investigation of choice for allergic fungal sinusitis once it is suspected. Next question is recurrence is common? What is the treatment of choice in case of recurrence? Sir.
Okay. No, there was a question to my mobile phone from Koli Mahmouda, how to control contamination of fungal rhinosinusitis. Contamination. Yes, so that is possibly by health hygiene. Otherwise, you cannot prevent contamination.
Sir, it is not a contagious disease at all.
No, this is not. Health hygiene is the
it is the hygiene.
Personal hygiene, yes.
It is the hygiene.
And arekta yes mane information esese get notified when BD physicians goes live next. Get notified. That means for the Ehsan, Tarek, and anybody else, ভবিষ্যতে যেন এটা করার সময় আগে একটু নোটিশ দেওয়া হয়, অনেকে হয়তো জানে না, সেই জন্য বোধহয় এটা এসেছে আমার কাছে। Get notified when BD Physicians goes live next. তার মানে একটু আরো আর্লি দিতে হবে। Okay, these are the things.
I
Okay,
would
thank
like
you.
to
So
request
go for the next
organizer
question.
to give a notification at the few days ago so that they can prepare themselves to participate.
So sir, the next question is differential diagnosis of fungal rhinosinusitis. What are the differential diagnosis?
Already I have mentioned the differential diagnosis of the fungal sinusitis, that is the allergic fungal sinusitis, fungal mycetoma, chronic rhinosinusitis with polyp or without polyp, even the malignancies.
Yes, sir. And
And most common is the allergic fungal sinusitis, the inverted papilloma.
Yes, sir. Sir, the next question, there are multiple questions that already been answered, so that so I am not repeating these questions. The next question is how allergic sinusitis influence in the management of bronchial asthma. Is there any influence of allergic sinusitis in the management of bronchial asthma?
Okay, this allergic sinusitis, initially it was as soon as it is established that this is the allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, the trifactor causing the asthma. This asthma is the predisposing factor for this allergic sinusitis. So this allergy, asthma, and they go parallel. So allergy influences the asthma influences the allergy. And this allergy and asthma influences the formation of the fungus, that is again the interleukin 4 and interleukin 13 and 16, and eosinophilic cationic protein and endotoxin materials, they come into play and go for the allergic reaction and also the formation of the allergy, asthma. So these are the vicious cycle to go for the allergy and the asthma.
So both are interrelated to each other. The next question is surgery is the treatment of choice for allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, and if it is so, then when we go for surgery? When should we go for surgery and when should we go for medical management?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good question and interesting question. The surgery, initially it is thought that the full house surgery can give the prevention of the recurrence of the disease. But today it is thought that full house surgery, that is a full house sinus surgery, is not the only crux of the surgical procedure, because as such it is the allergic phenomena. So if you do not remove the allergy, the sinus fungus again come into play. So surgery, only surgery, it does not. Number one. Number two, also when it will go for the surgery. Surgery is a CT scan will dictates when to go for the surgery. Patient presentation and the CT scan findings, that is the diagnostic and endoscopic finding. The three things. One is the presentation, endoscopic findings, and the CT scan findings. The three correlated for the surgical procedure.
So, sir, once I think that the management of choice is the surgery. Yes. Medical management is not sufficient for once it is diagnosed as allergic fungal sinusitis.
Substitute of the surgical process.
Yes, sir. So the next question goes. It is specifically to Pranagopal sir. Antifungal resistance is also rising. So, what should be the ideal approach to prescribe these antifungals?
To start with, I told that these fungal diseases, starting from cutaneous, subcutaneous, or internal organs, whatever it may be, they are rarely 100% curable, and they always relapses. So antifungal drugs, they does not get resistant, rather they are inactive in 100% cases. That is not question of resistance, that is the inactivity, that they cannot properly act and to eradicate the disease. And I have already mentioned one thing, that this fungus, even in the isolated condition, forming a fungal ball, if they stay in the nasal cavity, they will survive. So there is no question of resistance, they are surviving with the body humidity, with the body secretions and etc. Then fungal resistance of fungal drug this is not very, antifungal drug is not a very important factor. Always try to clean it. What Professor Ashraf mentioned, that after doing the surgery, meticulous cleaning and intermittent follow-up of the cases is very important to prevent the recurrence. I have seen one patient who attained the highest position of civil bureaucracy. He was in Stemberger Clinic when he was posted in Holland. He got the operation done by face surgery by Mr. Stemberger, who is the father of endoscopic sinus surgery. He had the recurrence, and I used to see him in Bangladesh every 3 months, 4 months. Whenever I see something is peeping, and I remove it. So there is no question. It's go to the next question.
I want to add one
Yeah.
with you, sir. When I was in Stemberger Center with the class, and he presented one allergic fungal sinusitis with the Popinakona, Germany, and he said fungal sinusitis is not a phenomena of the curable disease. It is the phenomena of the recurrent disease. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Tariq.
Thank you, sir. The next question is the chronology of antifungal use in case of fungal sinusitis. Sir, already you have mentioned that the role of antifungals is less in case of this allergic fungal sinusitis once it's diagnosed. Are antifungal spray available in Bangladesh?
No, it is not available in our country.
Yes, sir. Which sinus is commonly been affected by allergic fungal sinusitis and why?
Maxillary sinus is the most common affected.
Yes, sir. Why it is most commonly affected?
Because maxillary sinus is the orchestra of the other sinuses, as you know. So it is the gravitational, and once the other sinuses, even the allergic mucin is there, they come and interplay into the maxillary sinus through the sinus ostium. It goes with the gravity, and ultimately the sinus ostium is blocked, and maxillary sinus become stasis. There is the stasis in the maxillary sinus and the fungal growth, which I have shown you the cascade of the fungus sinusitis, cascade of the.
Professor Ashraf, maxillary sinus is the biggest amongst all sinuses, and ostia is very high up, so there is always accumulation.
Accumulation, right, sir.
If there is no proper ciliary beating.
Right, sir.
Okay.
Exactly, sir.
Sir, role of immunotherapy in allergic fungal rhinosinusitis.
It is under the research phase because this is the immune complex disease. So they are thinking that if as it is the immune complex disease, if you go for the immunotherapy, that is the interleukin 4. Now the interleukin 13 and 16 has come into being. So this is in the research phase, immunotherapy. It is not yet been established in the treatment of the allergic fungal sinusitis.
Thank you, sir. There are some other questions. Use of omalizumab and dupilumab in allergic fungal rhinosinusitis.
It is also in the research phase.
Is there any role of icosanoids?
Just to combat the immunocomplex disease. Whatever the biological therapy or the immunotherapy is coming, they are for combating the immune complex disease.
Thank you all. Though I am a newcomer for this BD physician group, and this is my first moderation in any sort of program. Anyway, thanks to everyone. Thanks to Professor Ashraf Islam for your elaborate presentation. Thanks, Pranagopal sir. So I am requesting our chairperson sir for concluding this session.
Actually, this is the duty of a chairperson to conclude. But before going to this, just I want to give some information that this is a highly skilled technical surgery. And once it is established, the allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, and most of the European books and American books, already Ashraf said, that is unilateral. But we get a lot of bilateral because of late presentation. Is it true? Professor Ashraf, because of late presentation.
আমি অলরেডি স্যার ওটা দেখিয়েছি স্যার যে
Because of late
late
presentation.
presentation exactly
And
sir.
number two, as they are all cases are very advanced. Already Professor Ashraf mentioned what are the reasons for advanced cases, referral and other things. I don't want to mention here it again, but there are a lot of complication.
Right sir.
And there are major complication and minor complication. And once someone is going to do functional endoscopic sinus surgery, he must keep it in mind. These are the complication I may create, and these are the complication needs to immediate attention. If I fail, where I will get the help? I must get someone. If I fail, I must ask Ashraf or someone, please come and help me. So never hide anything. And there is a book in America where it is written, the major complication include CSF leak, orbital hematoma, hemorrhage requiring transfusion, তারপরে lacrimal duct obstruction require surgical intervention, and there may be diplopia, loss of vision, meningitis, brain abscess, intracranial hemorrhage, stroke, major vessel injury, and death. Even in America, in 2010, there was a statistics that there was recorded 7 table death. 7 table death. So we must be cautious about it. And anybody and everybody, I don't want to get you frustrated, or so you should not get afraid of this. I am saying that you don't do it. Don't do it without a proper situation and proper hospital management. Anywhere and everywhere, surgery cannot be done. And another important thing what I want to add here, what we are looking in our neighboring countries, that there is black fungus, white fungus, etc., and anybody are going to be blind. And possibly that is not only due to immunosuppression. There may be a lot of other factors that they have to save the life of a patient. They have used the industrial oxygen, and one patient died, it has been removed from the bed, and another one has been put into the oxygen support, and whether there was contamination. Most important thing is that, and in this 21st century, a country like India still believe that the cow dung and cow's urine may cure COVID. So there may be a lot of complication. এই শতাব্দীতে বসে যদি আমি মনে করি গোবর খেলে বা গরুর মূত্র খেলে আমার কোভিড ভালো হবে, বা তা আমার মুখে বা নাকে লাগাইলে আমি ভালো হয়ে যাব, no, this is not true. So with this few words, once I have answered contamination কি করে prevent করা যায়, that is only by your individual health hygiene. And another thing, that is the povidone iodine in the prevention of fungus. Within a few minutes, I have gone through some literature, and that is not recorded. ওরকম কোনো record নেই. So with this few words, with the permission of the organizer, with lot of thanks to our presenter, Professor Retired Major Ashraful Islam, that was a nice presentation, and it was really it would be very helpful for the ENT resident, ENT training, and the postgraduate ENT specialist. So with these few words, again I thank the organizer and the participant, that is my family members who have joined us in this seminar, webinar, and I'm really thankful to all of you. And still there are 74 participants on our line. 75 is there. So I'm sure we are really interested for updating our knowledges. And with the word of Sir William Osler, that a doctor is a student till his death, and when he fails to be a student, he dies. আমাদের ডাক্তারদের জানার কোনো শেষ নেই। যেদিন যতদিন পর্যন্ত আমি রোগী দেব ততদিন পর্যন্ত আমাকে পড়তেই হবে। নতুন একটা ড্রাগ আসবে, তার ইউজ জানতে হবে, তার সাইড এফেক্ট জানতে হবে, সাইড এফেক্টের ম্যানেজমেন্ট জানতে হবে। সো উই আর স্টিল স্টুডেন্ট, whoever it may be, Professor Prangopal, Professor Ashraf, or our teachers, we all are student. So with this few words, let me finish. Thanks everybody.